Once upon a time, in a small, impoverished village, there lived a couple desperate for a child. Their longing grew with each passing year, and when the wife finally conceived, it felt like a miracle. But joy turned to despair when the wife fell gravely ill during her pregnancy. The local healer could offer no cure, and in desperation, the husband ventured into a forbidden garden said to belong to a powerful witch. There, under the pale light of the moon, he found rampion, an herb with leaves that shimmered like emeralds. He gathered as much as he could carry, but just as he turned to leave, a chilling voice froze him in his tracks. "How dare you steal from me?" the witch hissed, her figure emerging from the shadows. Her eyes glinted with malice, and her gnarled hands clutched a staff twisted with blackened roots. Trembling, the man begged for mercy, explaining that his wife's life depended on the herb. The witch's scowl softened into a cruel smile. "Very well," she said. "You may take the rampion, but in return, you must give me your child." Desperate to save his wife, the man agreed, though his heart broke at the thought of what he had promised. When the child was born, a girl with golden hair that gleamed like sunlight, the witch appeared to claim her prize. Ignoring the parents' pleas, she named the child Rapunzel and spirited her away to a tall, isolated tower hidden deep within the forest. The tower had no doors, only a single window high above the ground. The witch would visit daily, calling up to Rapunzel, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," so that the girl's golden locks could serve as a ladder. As Rapunzel grew, so did her beauty, and so did her loneliness. Her days were filled with silence, broken only by the song she sang to herself. Her hair, long and glowing, was both her only companion and her burden. The witch claimed to love her as a daughter, but her affection was cold and controlling, laced with warnings about the cruelty of the outside world. Rapunzel obeyed, though she often stood at her window, gazing longingly at the forest below. As the years passed, Rapunzel began to have strange dreams. In them, she saw figures climbing her hair, only to collapse lifeless at the base of the tower. Their faces were pale, their bodies drained of vitality. She awoke from these dreams trembling, but told herself they were nothing more than her imagination. One day, as she sang her melancholy songs, a young prince hunting in the forest heard her voice. Enchanted, he followed the sound until he came upon the tower. Hidden among the trees, he watched as the witch called up to Rapunzel and climbed her hair. Determined to meet the girl with the hauntingly beautiful voice, he returned the next day. When the witch had gone, he called up to the tower, mimicking her chant. To his delight, Rapunzel's golden hair tumbled down, and he climbed up to meet her. Rapunzel was startled at first, but quickly warmed to the prince. He told her of the world beyond the tower, of bustling towns, vast green fields, and the freedom to choose one's own path. She listened captivated as he described the stars above the castle and the rivers that sparkled in the sunlight. For the first time, hope flickered in her heart. The prince promised to return, and each night he climbed her hair to visit her. They talked for hours, and their connection deepened. But something strange began to happen. Each time the prince climbed her hair, he seemed weaker when he reached the top. His face grew pale, his steps unsteady. Rapunzel noticed but dismissed it as the strain of the climb. As for herself, she felt invigorated after his visits, her hair glowing brighter, her spirit lighter. She convinced herself it was the joy of his company. Soon, they devised a plan to escape. The prince would bring a rope so Rapunzel could descend, and they would flee into the forest. But the witch was not so easily deceived. One evening, she arrived unannounced and saw the prince climbing down. Furious, she confronted Rapunzel. "You foolish girl," she screamed. "Do you not understand the power you wield? Your beauty will be your doom, child. It will destroy you and all who love you." With a wave of her hand, she banished Rapunzel to the prince's castle. Though shaken, the couple believed they were free. They married, and Rapunzel quickly became beloved by the kingdom. Her beauty and kindness won over even the most skeptical courtiers. But the witch's vengeance was far from over. Crops began to wither, children fell ill, and strange creatures stalked the land. The witch herself returned, summoning storms and dark magic to attack the castle. In the climactic battle, Rapunzel and the prince fought together. The prince wielded a sacred blade blessed by the priests, while Rapunzel, desperate to protect those she loved, used her hair as a weapon. It glowed like molten gold, repelling the witch's spells. The prince struck the final blow, driving the blade through the witch's heart. As she crumbled into ash, she cursed Rapunzel one last time. "Your gift will consume all you hold dear. You cannot escape what you are." For a time, it seemed the kingdom could heal. Rapunzel and the prince rejoiced in their victory, and soon they had a child of their own. But strange things began to happen. Children in the village grew sick, livestock died, and crops withered once more. Rapunzel remained untouched by time, her golden hair glowing brighter with each passing year. The prince, plagued by doubt, began to notice unsettling details. Rapunzel never aged, and her hair's radiance seemed to grow with the misfortunes of others. One night, their infant child fell gravely ill. Desperate, the prince awoke to find Rapunzel in the nursery, singing softly as her hair wrapped around the baby. Her hair pulsed with light, and the child's face grew pale. Horror gripped the prince as he realized the truth. Confronting Rapunzel, he demanded an explanation. "I've always known," she confessed, her voice trembling. "The witch told me as a child, but I didn't understand then. My hair, it sustains me. It takes the life of others to keep me young and beautiful. I didn't choose this. I can't stop it." Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded for his understanding, but the prince saw only the destruction wrought by her curse. With their child's life hanging by a thread, the prince made a terrible decision. He took the sacred blade and severed Rapunzel's glowing hair. She screamed as her radiance faded, her body aging rapidly until she crumbled into ash. Yet, as she disintegrated, she smiled. Her last words were a whisper. "This is not the end." The prince buried her ashes near the ruins of her tower, vowing to raise their child alone. The land began to heal, and the villagers grew strong once more. But one night, as the prince sat by his child's cradle, he noticed a faint glow illuminating the room. His daughter's hair shimmered with a golden radiance, faint but growing stronger. As the light touched him, he felt a cold despair creeping into his heart. Clutching his child, he whispered, "Rest now, Rapunzel." Knowing the curse had not ended, it had only begun anew. Thank you for joining us in the world of Twilight Fables. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.